College Football 26 just came out, and I've gotten to play a few games with it, and I wanted to touch on a couple things. The first thing, so these are player ratings here. We'll talk about those in a second. The first thing that annoys me a little bit, Matt Campbell is wearing a red hat and red shirt in the game. I know it seems like a small detail, but Matt Campbell has worn black hat, black shirt in every game since 2018, I think, when they debuted the black uniforms. He did wear red before that, before we had the black uniforms, but Matt Campbell wears black. He does not wear red. Um, However, I do want to say, though, overall, the game seems pretty fun right now. The menu music is different. It's not just one rotating drum line all the time. The dynasty mode seems like it's gotten a lot of improvements. The gameplay feels very nice. Um, I do want to talk about here though about Iowa State's ratings now that we've got a little bit more of a clear idea of what these look like on the game. Um, we did look at the top 10 a little bit last week and got a good idea what those are. A couple of guys in here that I wanted to talk about. So there's a few that were left kind of right off, just off the list, off of the top 10 list. So there's Chase Solo down there. He was the bottom of the top 10, I believe. Ben Bramer's right there. Gabe Burkle is right there below Ben Bramer. So I mean that's a nice spot for him because I think he played really nicely at the end of towards the end of the last season. I thought he was really, really good. Trevor Burr is an interesting one up here at 80 overall. He played a bunch last season, but I don't think most people remember him as being the starter because Dylan Barrett was there at left guard for a while and then he got hurt. But Trevor Burr was really good, and I think there's an expectation that it's either going to be him or Jim Boniface at the right guard position going into this season. I think it'll be James Neal at left tackle, Dylan Barrett at left guard, Brennan Black at center, and then either Trevor Burr or Jim Boniface at right guard, and then Tyler Miller at right tackle. So nice thing there. And Xavier Townsend just off the, he's still in the 80s, kind of like we thought. Victor says Coach Campbell wasn't happy I was skipping meetings with the girl on Road to Glory. Oh God. Probably not. Yeah. But there's Xavier Townsend, sitting at 80 overall, 92 speed. I kind of thought he would be a little bit higher than that, but there's not very many players in this game that are like over 93 or 94. There are a couple that are high, but mostly they're just sitting down in the low 90s. But Xavier Townsend, super athletic. He's right there. Daniel Jackson is the guy here. He was hurt. He's been hurt, his whole career. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's one of the candidates to be up there. I think it'll be the starting receivers will be Chase Soul and Xavier Townsend, but it wouldn't surprise me if Daniel Jackson gets quite a bit of run here. Trey Bell there at a 79. Jim Boniface is he's the other option at right guard. Notably, it says center here because he was technically listed as a center, but he'll be a right guard this year. And also wanted to see so Trevor Burr is actually the highest. Oh no, there's Tyler Miller and Dylan Barrett up there, but Trevor Burr is actually the third highest rated offensive lineman. Then we've got Trey Bell, the transfer corner there at 79, James Neal at 78 there, Eli Green at 78. He didn't play a lot. We thought we saw something early in the season with against North Dakota. He had a nice game, and we were like, wow, this is your guy right here. It was just a second Jalen Knoll, and then he just never really played the rest of the year. Not sure what's going on there. Will McLaughlin he was injured for a lot of last year, but I think this is a guy that'll rise probably into the 80s. Cooper Ebel, I was pretty surprised to see him down here all the way to 77. I kind of was expecting him to be more up in right around 80, but Brendan Black, another guy I would have thought he would have been higher, maybe around an 80. Jameson Patton is going to be a new starter there, probably at strong safety or free safety. And really excited about him. He's played tons and tons of snaps at Iowa State. Dylan Lee is probably the third string running back now, kind of down here in the 70s. Akini Ziogu, Tyler Perkins, Tayshaun James, Drew Clausen at tight end. Kind of a weird one there. Tyler Moore, he's going to be more of an H-back. Benny Nagoya there. Benny Nagoya actually got a name check from Campbell today at media days as a guy to kind of keep an eye out for. Now we know he switched to corner. I think he's an interesting guy there. Trey Bell will probably start across from Jontez Williams, but I would not be surprised to see Benny Nagoye come in as a nickel or something like that, or get some run as a backup corner. He played a corner in high school, and we've already seen what they did with Darian Porter. If they can do that with Benny Nagoye, great, we're in good shape. Dukester says Caleb Bacon plays way above his overall. In my couple games that I've played with him, Caleb Bacon does play way above his overall. Also, Dominic Orange in the game is dominant. He's an outrageously good defensive player on the game. Caleb Brazina, Kyle Conradi, Vontroy Malone down here in the 75 range. Vontroy Malone is one of the transfers in at the defensive end spot. Miles Mendezune. River Peppers is another guy that got name checked today by Matt Campbell at Big 12 Media Days. If you've been watching this show or listening to any podcasts that I've done, you already know that I'm a big fan of River Peppers and think he's going to be awesome because I watched his tape and he's a really exciting football player. In fact, I'm going to pull up his tape here and stuff because I just really like watching it. But overall, there's a few guys here I think are definitely going to be risers throughout the season. I think Rocco Beck will end up in the 90s. I think Chase Sowell will end up at least in the high 80s. Xavier Townsend probably mid 80s. Really interesting here. Overall, game's fun. Over on the Wide Right 90 Like Discord, we are actually running a dynasty, and I think we've got 10 teams in it right now. We're all running in G5. It's been totally realigned to make geographically minded conferences. There's all 5 Power 5 conferences, rebuilt the Pac-12 that have 12 teams exactly, and then everybody else is in a G5 conference, and we've got we've got a promotion relegation system. So each G5 conference has a paired Power 5 conference. It has a Power 5 conference that's paired up with it. Let me pull it up here. Actually, I can show you what's going on. I'm really excited to do this because it took me a while to get this kind of like organized on how I wanted to do it. But let's see here. So basically, in the top tier, you got there. So the ACC is Clemson, Duke, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Miami, NC State, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, West Virginia. The Big 12 is a lot different. I kind of remade it back to the old Big 12, which is Baylor, Houston. I did leave Houston. Iowa State, Kansas State, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas A&M. The Big 10, a little bit different because those Pac-12 schools are back in the Pac-12, but also you will notice I have Notre Dame in a conference. Notre Dame is in the Big 10 now. And then the SEC, Florida State is now in the SEC. But otherwise, it's most of your kind of traditional SEC schools. Pac-12 is Arizona State, Boise State, BYU, Colorado, Oregon State, UCLA, USC, Utah, Washington, and Washington State. But now, here's how it works. So the ACC is paired up with the American Conference. The Big 12 is Conference USA, Big 10 with the MAC, SEC with the Sun Belt, Pac-12 with the Mountain West. And these are also geographically minded. So you can see the geographic footprints of these Power 5 conferences. The American is kind of the East and Northeast. So it goes from East Carolina all the way up to Boston College. Covers that entire area. Conference USA is basically Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas, and Tulsa. So it's those 4 states, which are basically the southern part of the Big 12 footprint. MAC is just Big 10 country, basically. And then, so Texas Tech. Oh, did I leave them out? I think they're in the Big 12. Let me see here. I just did the conference realignment yesterday, and I'm pretty sure you're right. I did leave them out of this spreadsheet, but they are in the Big 12 in the conference, and I believe I moved something else around. But anyways, this is. I think I put. Here's what I did: is I put Texas Tech in the conference, and I moved Houston down to Conference USA. That's what I did. I made a small adjustment because I realized that Texas Tech was not on this list. And then we've got the Sun Belt, which is basically a little bit of Florida. Actually, it's Florida, Florida, the Carolinas, and kind of there's Appalachian State there it's Florida and the Carolina, Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas essentially. Then the Mountain West is just everything west of the Mississippi essentially, or west of the Missouri. south of the Missouri. Um, and then basically the top two teams from the bottom conference go up into the power conference, and then the bottom two teams in the power conference drop down to there. So if after this season, Air Force and Hawaii win are the top two teams in the Mountain West, they will go up to the Pac-12, and let's say BYU and Washington State are the bottom two, they will drop down to the Mountain West from the Pac-12. So it's a fun league. These are all the teams that are taken. I'm playing Georgia State. We've got a few of these other ones, basically starting out low and then working our way up. We're not going to be changing teams. You're going to stick with your own team and then just move up a tier. So that way you don't have to worry about jumping jobs, because you can just move up to the better conference, then have all the benefits that go with it. So fun little dynasty we're running over there.